can give them to the birds and bees. I want money.
The Flying Lizards, introducing Dominic who was a flying lizard around the nightclubs in his day. Don't worry about that.
Oh, you still enjoy it?
Down the Southside Six and the Sentimental Bloke.
Oh, I don't know about that. More like inflation.
Inflation, yeah. Underground.
Yeah, the underground.
Casey's.
Metro?
Metro, not as much. I was more of a band. I used to go to bands.
Yeah, me too.
At the, what's that tiny little pub, the Exford Hotel?
Oh, the
Russell
Exford
Street.
Yeah, in Russell, yeah.
Yeah, they used to fit about 4,000 people in there.
That's right.
And speaking of small rooms, but I feel I'm interrupting an intimate dinner between yourself and Emily here.
The lights are dim.
Yeah, I like the lights down low.
I think throughout you're cutting back a bit.
Yes.
What, was that a kiss or a bottle of wine being
saving
opened?
on power.
That was a Barolo wine being opened.
I follow a gentleman who is a finance guy in the United States on Instagram, and he's just a cool kind of dude.
Yes.
And he had 5 important rules to making money, and I can remember 2. One of them was never buy timeshare. Yes or no?
Absolutely correct.
Is that right?
He's spot on.
That wouldn't be Dave Ramsey, is it? Is that
I
who
don't
you follow?
know. I've just started. He's a young bloke.
Oh, no, Dave's a different bloke.
Oh,
but
is he?
Big profile. Okay.
Another one of his rules was never go co-signatory when a family member is applying for a loan. It means that they can't qualify, so you're sort of guarantor for it.
You've got to think long and hard about doing that, but I would say never do it. Not never do it, but think long and hard.
Yeah, they were 2 rules. So you'd agree with both of those? So
Yes,
this bloke's on the right track.
I think he's good.
Okay.
From what you've told me. So quick market update, and then we'll give you the 5 golden rules of retirement planning.
Oh, good. More rules.
More rules. So, look, overnight we saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average put on just over 0.5%, while the S&P 500 gave back just under 0.9%, and the Nasdaq lost over 2% as tech stocks got hit for a 6 ahead of next week's profit results. Obviously, the Middle East situation is affecting buyers' enthusiasm, but more importantly, next week's profit results in the US will determine whether the market's going to rebound. Across Atlantic, London's FTSE put on 0.25%, with the French CAC, German DAX and Italian MIB mixed. Gold put on $15.80 to $2,413.80 US an ounce. West Tex Minute was up 41 cents to $83.14 a barrel, and Brent crude rose 18 cents to $87.29 a barrel. And the Aussie dollar is slightly down at the moment against the greenback, and is currently buying 64.18 US cents, with the ASX 200s by 27 points up for Monday, following Friday's effort where we saw the market give back 75 points, or nearly 1%, to end the week at 7,567.
Excellent. Now, the lines are open if you have any questions for Dominic or financial advice or any queries. 133 693. But right now, the 5 rules of retirement.
Well, start early. As you know, I've been doing free telefinance consultations since last year, and it's going gangbusters, and most of the people are approaching retirement. And I say to them, if you want to retire at 67, make sure you have a 10-year plan from around age of 57. Don't leave it too late. So the earlier you start, the better, because it's like having a rudderless ship. We go through life, and time flies. What happened to the last 10 years, Darren?
Gone.
They're just like that.
Yeah.
So it's easy to lose track of where you want to be unless you've got a plan.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to move assets from the taxable environment to the concessionally taxed environment, and that requires a lot of courage, because if you sell property or shares that you've owned for years and you incur a capital gains tax, it hurts. But if you consult it away into a tax-free environment like super, or a concessionally taxed environment like tax-paid bonds if you've got squillions of dollars, then it's better in the long run. So it's a bit like having, gangrene. You've got to chop your leg off sometimes to live.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to do it, but it's got to be in your best interest.
You know how the state government, speaking of tax, you know how the state government, because of their overspending, have taxed people that have worked hard with investment properties with their land tax. I heard that there's a loophole. If you've got a block of land and rent it to the Scouts, it's exempt of...
Is that
land tax? In other words, a charity.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like if you lease your property to a charitable organisation.
Well, that's funny. I told you about my lovely Polish man who's been a client for a number of years. He rang me up a couple of months ago crying. He was literally crying. He said, I've worked hard all my life. He's in his 80s, and he had 3 shops. One was his own business, which I think was a newsagent, which he sold, and new agents newsagents moved in there. Now and there's a coin laundrette and I think a chemist. So he's got 3 good tenants in there. And he was living on $180,000 a year rent, which was good money for a man who's worked hard.
Yeah.
His land tax bill was $116,000. So
that is a joke.
It is, and he's upset. I said, I can't do anything about it. And he was really up. I said, look, you're going to have to, he wants to give them to his 3 children, one each. And I said, look, you're going to have to sell one because you really can't afford to live on, whatever the difference was. By the time he pays tax and all that other stuff. So he's very upset. So maybe he should rent one to the Salvation Army.
Yeah, Salvation Army, yeah.
Yeah, and
next door to St Finney's, which will be next door to...
Anti-Cancer Council.
The Anti-Cancer Council, exactly right. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. I'll check that out.
Now, sorry, we digress. We're up to number 3.
Look, I learn something every day when I come on 3AW.
I think that's right, anyway.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
so number 3 is think about where you want to live when you retire, and if that involves a tree change or a sea change, start thinking about it in advance because it really is a difficult thing to do because people say rent something and then see if you like it and then buy that in that area or that same property. It's not that easy. The theory is easy, the textbook theory is easy, but, when you find something, it is really difficult to make that decision. Start early.
And if you get it wrong, you have to pay stamp duty again when you move again. You do not want to be doing that multiple times in your life.
I know. And if you keep it as a rental property, you decide not to sell it, then you've got land tax on it as well. So... think about the big ticket items like holidays, new cars, caravans, a holiday house, and helping the children where appropriate. And put that on the agenda. Don't leave it to I want to give my kids some money or I want to give my grandkids some money. Think about it in advance so you can plan because it's much easier if you salt a little bit away each year over 10 years than if you say, I need to give the kids $100,000. Well, when are you going to get that from? So don't get the guilt when you're 67 or 65, whenever you want to retire. Start feeling guilty now about not giving your kids money because they will make you feel guilty.
Gotcha.
Got it?
And we're up to number 1, aren't we?
We're number 5.
Oh, it's number 5.
Well,
this is backwards.
Well, I'm starting. These are the most important rules. So number 5, and the most difficult question of all, forget about houses and money and all that stuff, is do you want to transition to retire?
Transition.
Or will you just hang up your boots on a Friday afternoon? One day in the future. That requires a lot of time and a lot of, I call it counselling, financial counselling with your advisor. Sit down or talk to your butcher, your best mate, your taxi, whoever you feel comfortable with divulging personal issues with. That's probably the hardest because some people just drop off a pin, say, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
And other people say, I'm going to plan this to the nth degree.
Well, interesting
They're my
stuff.
5 tips.
I like it. Steve Price, it looks as though he might be retiring back in his home city of Adelaide. An article in the paper, and I quote, Victoria, broke and woke, the place I've called home off and on since 1976 is now too big, too dirty, too politically green, and is just too hard living here. Dan Andrews' obsessive COVID lockdowns changed forever the soul of the state, and only a couple of major events in the AFL make it worth living here.
Gee, I've got to tell you, there's a lot in what he says. A lot in what he says.
8 to 10.
Tom Elliott's Chief Commissioner of Victoria Police, Shane Patton, good morning.
Dominic Alafaci is here. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
Pete.
Dominic, I've come out of a 35-year business and in semi-retirement.
Mm-hmm.
We own our principal property outright, which we're looking to sell and downsize.
Yep.
We've got an investment property with a 18-year tenant in it. What I needed to ask you is, do I pay down what I owe on that property or just keep it as the minimum payments and continue to write off the interest and the
question,
rest of the outgoings?
Yeah, I assume it's a commercial property because you've got a long lease.
No, residential.
18 year, did you say? You've got a lease for 18 years?
Yep.
Wow, I've never heard of it.
The
I've never been in there for
the
okay.
property 18.
Okay, I was going to say that's a first. Look, essentially, I would consider selling the investment property and taking the capital gains tax pain at a time when it suits you in terms of taxable income. Try and legally minimise the tax. Only if you haven't maxed out your superannuation. So if yourself and your wife, if you're married, have got under $1.9 million each in super, it's worth considering selling the investment property and putting the money into super. And if you like buying investment properties, perhaps set up a self-managed super fund if that's something that you like to do, and purchase another property, because the capital gains tax that's pregnant in the investment property today will only increase over time, and depends on your taxable income. You may or may not be better off taking some pain now for some long-term gain. So get someone to calculate the cost-benefit analysis of transferring assets from the taxable environment to the tax-free environment being super.
Thanks, Peter. To Annette, good morning.
Oh, good morning. I'm hoping you can help me with this little query that I've got. Well, it's probably a big query to me.
No worries, Annette. How can we help?
I'm retired at the moment. I'm 61.
Yep.
My income is made up of my bank savings on the interest of it, as well as a fully franked dividend.
Yep.
I have two positively geared investment properties that are doing not too bad. I had thought that the expenses, like I've got a bit of a bank loan to it, and also depreciable items. Yep. I thought that came off my taxable income.
That is correct, Annette.
To lower that.
Yeah, so you've got, let's summarise quickly. You've got interest income, dividend income plus franking, and rental income. So all of that income is positive on the input side, and what comes off is deductible interest for your rental properties, rates, repairs, and things like that. So isn't your accountant taking those off the income? They're not deducting them. Is that what your problem is?
It doesn't appear to be. I've just looked at the tax return from the accountant. It hasn't gone in yet, and I've put the question
I would ring them.
her.
I'd ring her back and say, look, have I misread the document? But there's certainly necessarily incurred in deriving taxable income, which is the legislation definition of it. So I would definitely double check. And if you don't get get a good answer, perhaps leave your details off air and I'll get a person from our office to give you a call.
Hold the line, Annette, and we'll get your details. Dominic, collinshouse.com.
That's correct.
Are you still doing the consultations?
Yes, we're taking consultations in May now, so we're fully booked. But it's really good, so thank you very much for 3AW's support, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
This bloke that I follow, he said, if you've got a loan that's costing you 6%, you've got the same amount that you've got on the loan invested for 6%, he said you're going to not earn as much interest on the 6% as you're going to pay on the loan.
Oh, absolutely right. You've got to take risk. You have to invest that cash that you've borrowed at 6% into a growth asset like shares or property.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you put it in the bank or buy a low-risk investment, it's a fool's errand.
It's a fool's errand. On that note, Dominic, lovely to see you.